Robbie Ray joining us right now on FT Live for the first time. Looking good. Robbie, how you doing, man? And how you feeling? Oh, wait, we got you on mute. Do you guys hear him?
No, I don't hear him.
Hold on. I think we got you on mute, bud.
It's okay. That hair is looking delicious. And we get to look at that hair the whole time. I mean,
check that out. And the fade, I mean, he's got it.
Did you get a haircut just for this interview?
Wait, let's try again.
He did. Nice. Still nothing.
Nothing yet.
Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yay!
We got him. All right, now you have a chance to respond. What's up?
Yeah, doing good. I'm over at the facility right now, actually.
And how you feeling?
Feeling good. I'm feeling really good. Recovery, the whole process is going really well. So I'm starting to ramp up the throwing. Elbow's feeling great. So pretty happy with where I'm at right now.
How does that work? Because you were traded in the middle of a rehab. Do you go to the how does that work? Because most teams sign like a guy for a 2-year deal, knowing he's going to miss 1 year because he's having rehab. You were already having the rehab, and then you had a weird clause in your contract, and Jerry Dipoto didn't he knew exactly when to trade you. It was weird. But how does that work? Do they just send over the doctor? The doctor traded with you? Does a rehab guy trade? How does that explain that?
Yeah, so it was definitely a little weird because you're going through a whole process with one team, and then all of a sudden you're expected to kind of pick it up with another team, and they haven't had hands on you at all. So the first few days is just like getting to know each other. They're getting to know you and your body and how you kind of click and how you work. So for me, it was a different experience. First time ever going through a process like this. It wasn't ideal, but I'm excited to be here, and I'm excited to be a part of the Giants, and I'm looking forward to the future.
All right, before I started playing and I was watching guys, I was like, dudes get traded, guy must be a turd. I went to 14 different organizations, and I'm like, well, I hope I'm not a turd. You've been traded for as good a pitcher as you are. You've been traded so many times. When you signed that contract with the Mariners, did you have that clause in there because your wife is like, we ain't getting traded anymore? Or was it because you were like, wait a minute, Jerry Dipoto's signing this contract with me. I need to put some clauses in there?
Yeah, I think for me, it was a little bit of just wanting some stability, wanting stability for my family. And just knowing that we were going to be in one place for more than just a year. So for me, it was kind of for me and my family to have that stability, but understanding that, once that 2 years was up, that there was a very good chance that I'd be out of there.
Let me ask you this. When do you realistically see yourself coming back? 2-part question. And then how do you think the Giants are going to do this year, man? Do you see you guys realistically being a playoff team?
Yeah, so I am probably set to come back right after the All-Star break, sometime in late July. And yeah, I think we definitely have the ability to do it. We got the arms to do it. We're probably looking to add, a bat or two, maybe. We'll see how that goes on that end. But I think, for the most part, we got the arms to do it. So it's going to be a fun year.
Robbie, when you heard initially that you were dealt, were you surprised, kind of playing off what AJ said, just because you were going through the rehab process? What was your first reaction when you heard about it and got the call?
Yeah, it was definitely surprising. You don't hear about it too often, guys getting traded in the middle of a Tommy John rehab. So it's definitely something that's not very common. So it definitely caught me off guard a little bit. But then, getting to talk to people and getting over here to the Giants facility and getting to meet guys, they made the transition a lot easier for me.
So you started this grunting action in 2016. Talk to us a little bit about that. You usually hear this in tennis. You hear guys or girls when they're hitting the ball screaming back and forth with a loud noise. What has this done for you, and has this helped you out a lot? Because I feel like you've done this throughout ever since 2016. Does it calm you down? What's the main point about this whole action when you make the noise?
Yeah, I think for me, it was kind of a turning point in 2016. I remember being in Miami and just throwing maybe one of the worst pregame bullpens I've ever thrown in my life. and I was walking in from the bullpen, and Mike Butcher was my pitching coach at the time, and he was just like, hey, what do you got? And I'm like, I got nothing. What do you got? And he's like, I just want you to throw every pitch as hard as you can for as long as you can. That's it. Get as hard as you can for as long as you can. And I was like, yeah. He's like, yeah, just try it. And that just kind of came out. It was just a way for me to just kind of allow everything to go into every single pitch. And I just kind of stuck with it.
Do you feel like this injury was on the horizon? Did you feel like was there any time when you were like, because it was so unfortunate, you were 3 innings into your season. Like, were you like, as you're warming up, you're like, this is warming up for the season. Like, as you're going into spring training, where you're like, there's just something a little different. Can pitchers tell that?
For me, it was probably my best spring training I've ever had. I mean, I was coming out, firing bullets and feeling really good. Arm felt great. Velo was up from the previous year. My stuff was crisp from the beginning. And then even, in the game that I blew out, it was, first inning I came out guns blazing. Everything felt great. And then second inning was a different story. And I just felt it. Just felt my elbow grab on me, and then I tried to just pitch as deep as I could into the game, because for me it was the second game of the year. It's like the last thing I wanted to do was just destroy our bullpen for the entire year. So I just gutted it out and tried to go as deep as I could.
Is it something that you sit there and you go, oh man, I should totally come out of this game, and now that you didn't come out of the game, you pitched through that? Is that something to work through as your rehab, like your first throws that you're now like going to start really ramping it up off the mound? Do you have to like think about it? Because you threw quite a few pitches with that pain in the elbow.
Yeah. I mean, thankfully right now my elbow feels great. I mean, I've had no issues with the elbow, nothing going on. I mean, it feels like a brand new elbow. I keep waking up the next day after throwing, expecting to be sore, and I'm not sore at all. So, that's been super encouraging for me, and in this whole process is just how my arm has been able to bounce back.
So you mentioned that Mike Butcher said, just go out there and throw every pitch as hard as you can and see what happens, right? That was kind of a big turning point for you, and you went out and obviously won a Cy Young and have been awesome ever since before the injury. Blake Snell is a free agent that's still out there, and that's kind of his philosophy, right? I mean, your walks are higher than average, but you strike out enough guys, your stuff is good enough. Can you outstuff guys for a length of period? And then, I mean, obviously you've won a Cy Young. Blake Snell's won 2 Cy Youngs. So you can just outstuff guys, basically. And you're like, if I walk them, I'm going to strike out the next 3, so who cares?
Yeah, I think that's kind of how I feel, yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like my stuff is good enough and it plays well enough to where like I don't have to give in to guys. And I think that, my best stuff on my best day is better than whatever's standing at the plate. And that's the confidence that I have in my stuff.
That's cool. I like that.
I like that. I love that answer.
It's a good line for teams too that are still like, should we sign Blake? Because actually your team is who I have predicted for 6 months. And I still think that the Giants are going to sign Blake Snell, which would be a cool combo to have those two together.
So what's weird though is Jerry Dipoto said that, the Mariners only want to win 54% of the time. So, Robbie was trying to go 100% of the time. So that's why he traded him, because he's like, man, this guy's giving 100% effort and trying to win instead of just 54% effort.
What did you think of that line when you heard that initially?
Yeah. So in my mind, everybody is, it's tough because everybody's thinking it, but it's a tough line to say out loud. When you say it out loud and you hear yourself say it, it's kind of a tough thing to hear. But everybody understands that that's kind of what teams do. They plan for, they plan for up years and down years. You could win 100 games and then the very next year you could lose 100 games. So, I mean, in a 5-year span, sure, you might win 54% of the games and that's what you're shooting for. But from like a fan base standpoint, it's just really tough to say that out loud.
Yeah, and I guess the case that I thought was really interesting was Cal Raleigh, right? So he hears that and he kind of said, look, we have a team in the Texas Rangers that just got over the hump and got into the playoffs. Then those comments, I think, were made at the end of your season with the M's. And then the Rangers end up winning. So I guess the aggressiveness that we saw from their front office once they had a core in place was what put them over the top. And I can feel the pain from M's fans. And I know from some players we've talked to behind the scenes and some on the show that they didn't kind of do a little bit more. Do you feel like the team was bummed about that?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we traded away our closer in Sewald, and it's tough. It's tough when you feel like you're going for it, and then all of a sudden you're trading guys away, and guys that are instrumental in winning games. And so I think for me, it just seemed like we were one or two guys away, and the team felt that, and the players felt that, but it just never lined up with ownership.
What do you know now about the Giants? Who have you talked to, and did you get a call, pretty quickly from someone like Farhan Zaidi or Bob Melvin? I know you've played against him many times. I don't know if you've come across him or had many combos with him.
Yeah, so Farhan reached out to me. All the staff, all the front office, they kind of reached out to me and welcomed me to the organization. And since I've been here, everybody has been awesome, and it's just a great group of guys from top to bottom. Like I said, I'm excited to be here, and I'm looking forward to this year because I think it's going to be a lot of fun. The group of guys that I've been able to talk to and kind of get to know so far, it seems like they like to have fun. I like to have fun, so it's going to be a fun year.
Yeah, you've got some good talent in the rotation too. I don't know what you know about like Kyle Harrison. They signed Jordan Hicks, who's going to try himself, in the starting rotation. But have you seen some of the guys that you're going to spend time with? Because I will say this also, multiple young pitchers on the Mariners would bring your name up. I think first, I would probably say in the past few years, where they'd be like, who's helping you? Like, who do you go to? And they're like, Robbie Ray. So you could be that guy here in addition to what you'll bring in July.
Yeah, I mean, I've been able to sit in and watch some bullpens, and like you said, Harrison, that guy, his stuff is explosive and it's really fun to watch. And I've been able to watch Webb pitch, and got to see Jordan Hicks pitch, throwing a bullpen too. So, I've been able to be around and watch guys throw and kind of see how they go about their business, and it's been a lot of fun. But I think for me, when guys are ready to talk to me, then I'm fully open. So I think that I make myself available to the younger guys, and I am always open as a sounding board for sure for those guys.
Robbie, you obviously prefer starting, right? I know when you came up, you kind of came out of the bullpen a little bit here and there, but then in 2022, and I'm sorry bringing this up, but you came out of the bullpen and obviously gave up a big home run. Was that different for you? And then to kind of tie it all in, do you think that had anything to do with then you going down the next year? Because the next year you were almost hurt from the jump, right? And you hadn't pitched out of the bullpen in a really long time until you got that opportunity. So do you think the two are connected?
I don't think they were. I mean, for me, that was a tough situation because I'd never been in a situation where you're walking off the mound and the game's over. And it took me a little while to process that, but I had guys around me like Eric Swanson and Paul Sewald and those guys that kind of helped me walk through those emotions and really, really process that. And those guys were super instrumental in like me understanding the mental side of that happening. Because I had never been in that situation before in my entire career, so it was definitely tough for me. But I definitely don't think that played into the injury going into the next year.
Take us. So you kind of hit on a little bit afterwards. Take us as you're coming out of the bullpen for that situation, because big league, this like a mindset of a Cy Young award-winning pitcher is a rare thing to hear. So I want to hear what you were thinking going into that situation.
Yeah, I think coming out of the bullpen, running in, the stadium's rocking. There's two guys on. Everybody's loud. There's not a whole lot. I wasn't thinking a whole lot about much. I was just getting my warm-up pitches in and just really trying to dial it in for those 8 pitches that I had. And then going over the game plan, just trying to stay hard against him. First pitch, he fouled straight back. It was like, I probably got away with one there. And then the next pitch, it was game over. So it was just one of those things where, like I said, I never experienced that before, walking off the mound and losing like that. So it was definitely difficult during the time, but having those guys around me was huge.
Okay, so you mentioned Sewald and some of the other guys. Like, we have Sewald on here all the time. He's one of the great guests we have on here because they were down 0-2 in the NLCS this year. He came on and was like, "We're going to win. We're going to get to 7 and we're going to win." So again, I've never been in that situation as a pitcher. I've obviously watched giving up as a catcher, giving up walk-off hits and walk-off homers and the whole deal. And you're like, gosh, you just play it over and over. So what does Sewald say to you? What do the other guys say to you? Because I know I've gone up to the pitcher and been like, "Hey, man, it's okay. Like, we'll get him tomorrow," like, and try to talk them through it, especially younger guys. But at that time, you're a veteran guy. You've been through a lot. So you just come off a Cy Young Award. I mean, so what do these guys say to you? Because this always fascinates me.
Yeah, I think, for me, it was Paul came up to me and was just like, "Look, you should have never been in that game. Like, I let those guys get on, and I put you in that situation. And, he's like, I'm the closer, and I should have locked it down." He was like, "You should never feel like you shouldn't feel like you lost this game. We all lost it." And I think for me, like, hearing him say that, like, we lost as a team, and it wasn't just my fault. Like, that was the biggest thing that kind of helped me out with that. It was like, everybody's still on my side. It's not like I went out there and tried to give up the game. And everybody knows that I'm prepared, and I put in my work, and I do my job the way you're supposed to do it. So it was just one of those things where, that night it didn't work out. It just happened to be in the playoffs in a big situation. So, but hearing him tell me that, it was definitely made it easier.
That's really cool.
That's awesome. That's awesome on a teammate level, of guys that people don't get to hear a lot of. Like, for that guy and for other guys to come up to you. And I mean, that's what it's all about. That's why you play, and that's why you have a team and you have guys that have your back. That's awesome to hear.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Makes sense too. Paul's on this show quite a bit. Makes sense. Like, he is straight shooter, accountable, the whole deal. And also, I mean, he went from your team to a team that was a couple wins away from a World Series. So it makes a lot of sense. That was a tough one. These guys know when he was traded from the M's, I was fuming. It's like, you don't trade. I get it. You got some bats, but I was like, you don't trade your closer when you're a fringe playoff team. I'm like, you can't, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, trade some prospects, because the Mariners have a pretty good farm system. Like, you can't, last one on this, I guess, you can't trade your closer mid-season, even if you're trying to also get some contact-oriented bats. Do you agree, like, how that affects the clubhouse? We've had Hader on the other day. He was dealt from the Brewers mid-season. They fell apart after that.
Yeah. I mean, those guys are, a guy like Paul is kind of the glue in the bullpen. And so, like, when you get rid of a guy like that, a guy that's so respected and a guy that, carries so much weight, it does affect the team. And I mean, you saw it in years prior too, when they got rid of, when they traded, Kendall Graveman to Houston. It was the same situation. They got rid of one of their guys, and it was like, what are we doing? I thought we were adding to this team to try to win. I didn't think we were subtracting.
And
it sucks, dude.
Dipoto was a reliever, wasn't he?
He was remember the guy when I wrestled that I said I beat his ass with he was Dipoto's roommate in college.
Oh, really?
Yeah. at VCU.
What a WWE connection we have.
Yeah, exactly. There it is.
Robbie Ray, Jerry Dipoto, and his roommate.
Simon Diamond.
I got one more for you before you jump. Here's another connection. You grew up with Mookie Betts, or you played ball with him growing up?
Yeah, we played summer ball growing up together. I've known Mookie since we were probably 12 years old.
Whew. Did you see all this coming? The player that he's become, all-around talent, and he's like, Mr. Hollywood. He's been on here, before too, and talked about the transition from Boston to LA. And now obviously LA has 10,000 freaking media members and cameras, and Mookie can handle it. I mean, he's so personable.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you definitely could see the talent there growing up. He didn't have like the power that he has now, but he was a gap to gap guy, doubles, and you could see that once he kind of grew into his body, he got a little bit bigger, got a little bit older, a little more mature. You could see that the power was going to come, and he was going to take off. I mean, he was a special talent. I mean, from the very beginning.
That's
But
awesome.
if you ask him who dropped tanks in high school, he'll tell you who dropped tanks in high school.
Oh shit!
Flex on him. Flex on him.
What'd you do? What kind of damage did you do?
Oh yeah, I mean, well, he was so Tony Kemp would lead off, and then Mookie he was like our number 2 hitter, and then I would come in as a 3-hole, and I'd drive us all in.
Golly.
What team was this? Was this like
He
a
rode the
Canes
bus.
national team
Is
or
this the
something?
NIL?
Yeah, this is Nashville Yankees growing up. Like a
Nashville
summer ball
Yankees.
team.
Okay.
You boys were
That's
getting
cool.
free cars when you turned 16, weren't you?
Yeah.
A team like that.
I love it. Well, Robbie, hope you enjoyed it, man. It was great having you on. We've been looking forward to having you on, especially moving over to the new squad. Good luck with the rehab. We'll be tracking and following, and we'll see you in the second half of the season, all right?
Yeah, appreciate it.